Today's lectionary psalm for morning prayer is Psalm 42 and 43, originally one psalm. I'm reading from Reflections on the Psalms by Church House Publishing. But it's perfect because I was looking for something on one of the last words of Christ, which wouldn't be covered another way in this week. Verse 11 of Psalm 42 says, "Why have you forgotten me?" Psalm 42. As the deer longs for the water brooks, so my soul longs for you, O God. My soul is athirst for God, even for the living God. When shall I come before the presence of God? My tears have been my bread day and night, while all day long they say to me, "Where is now your God?" Now when I think on these things, I pour out my soul. How I went with the multitude and led the procession to the house of God, with the voice of praise and thanksgiving among those who kept holy day. Why are you so full of heaviness, O my soul? And why are you so disquieted within me? O put your trust in God, for I will yet give him thanks, who is the help of my countenance and my God. My soul is heavy within me. Therefore I will remember you from the land of Jordan and from Hermon and the hill of Mizar. Deep calls to deep in the thunder of your waterfalls. All your breakers and waves have gone over me. The Lord will grant his loving kindness in the daytime. Through the night his song will be with me, a prayer to the God of my life. I say to God, my rock, why have you forgotten me? And why go I so heavily while the enemy oppresses me? As they crush my bones, my enemies mock me, while all day long they say to me, "Where is now your God?" Why are you so full of heaviness, O my soul? And why are you so disquieted within me? O put your trust in God, for I will yet give him thanks, who is the help of my countenance and my God. Come, Creator Spirit, source of life, sustain us when our hearts are heavy and our wells have run dry, for you are the Father's gift, with him who is our living water, Jesus Christ our Lord. The reflection I'm about to read is written by Peter Graystone. But of course, during the current COVID-19 pandemic, so many people are either pleading or mocking. Where are you, God? Where is now your God? Why have you forgotten us? We tend to romanticize the Psalms, says Peter Graystone. Several times this one has been turned into a hymn about contented countryside animals. Well, actually, it's about an emaciated deer scraping its carcass through the desert dust bowl in desperation. Why was the psalmist so desolate? Because all the evidence seemed to be that God had abandoned him. If you have ever felt like that, there are 3 things that the psalmist did that might help. First, He kept crying out to God, even though he was not sure that God was listening. Second, he went back in mind to a time when he did have assurance of God's presence, remembering songs of worship from his past. Third, he was totally honest with God and told it like it was, angry and confused. That honesty brought him a reward. Suddenly he had a stunning and reassuring glimpse of God. In the barren heights of Mount Mizar, he had a vision of water cascading all over him. In verse 9, deep calls to deep in the thunder of your waterfalls. All your breakers and waves have gone over me. He was overwhelmed by hope in God's loving kindness. No sooner than it had come, it was gone. He was back to anguish, but for an undeniable moment it was there. So when the writer says, "Put your trust in God," this isn't a platitude that comes from an untroubled heart. He says it because old habits are still valuable, even after they have stopped feeling refreshing. Psalm 42 is followed, of course, by Psalm 43, which the reflection by Helen-Ann Hartley will tell us were originally one complete psalm. I want to draw attention to verse 2. For you are the God of my refuge. Why have you cast me from you? And why go I so heavily while my enemy oppresses me? Psalm 43. Give judgment for me, O God, and defend my cause against an ungodly people. Deliver me from the deceitful and the wicked. For you, O God, are the God of my refuge. Why have you cast me from you? And why go I so heavily while the enemy oppresses me? O send out your light and your truth, that they may lead me, and bring me to your holy hill and to your dwelling, that I may go to the altar of God, to the God of my joy and gladness, and on the lyre I will give thanks to you, O God, my God. Why are you so full of heaviness, my soul? And why are you so disquieted within me? O put your trust in God, for I will yet give him thanks, who is the help of my countenance and my God. Come, Creator Spirit, light and truth, bring us to the altar of life and renew our joy and gladness in Jesus Christ our Lord. Following on then closely from its predecessor, note the repetition of the final phrase, which features in Psalm 42. Why are you so full of heaviness, O my soul, and why are you so disquieted within me? This psalm speaks of lament. This is a prayer that speaks of the gulf between despair and praise. That the two are ultimately linked together is remarkable and serves as a reminder that any relationship with God is inevitably made up of both extremes, despair and praise, praise and despair. We cannot have one without the other. Life in its totality is surely full of both aspects. The image of God as a refuge in verse 2 is an anchor point for the whole psalm, but its meaning is wider than a place of safety and retreat. One of the fascinating things about the Psalms is that they are proclaimed in the fullness of life, that even at the times of being tested, there is a willingness to face matters head-on. Refuge is more accurately imagined as strength for the journey rather than escape and retreat. To feel protected is one matter, but to feel strengthened at the very point of trial is at the heart of the psalmist's prayer. Linked to praise, it speaks of a sense of confidence that putting one's trust in God yields results far beyond that which we ever thought possible.